On the Shana Suresh show, today we are going to talk about diamonds, design, and disruption with Mahima Verma, an award winning jewelry designer, a certified gemologist, and also the founder and CEO of the World Academy of Design and the World Academy of Design Awards. She has trained over 2,000 students, is famous for bringing beautiful designs to life. So get ready to have some real talk right here on the Shanu Suresh show. Hello, Mahima. Thank you so much for joining us on Real Talk. It's truly an honor to have you here with me on the show. Of course, I've known Mahima for a while, and last year, I think it was last year, right?
2023.
So I hosted one of her awards, and ever since, we've just been in each other's hearts.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's put it that way. Mahima, so talking about you, I'd like to start off with your journey personally. You've taught, educated over 2,000 students with jewelry designing.
Yes.
You have had, numerous awards. There's so many accolades to your name and everything that you have done. How did this jewelry designing, or how did all of this happen to you in your life? Was it by chance? Were you always attuned towards designing and jewelry in general?
So first of all, it's my absolute honor to come here, and this is my first ever podcast.
Really?
I'm really glad that it's happening with you, with a person who I love to work with, who
Thank
I
you.
know how confident, beautiful person you are from
Thank
your
you.
heart. So thank you for having me here in your first ever show. Well, to answer your first question, how it all started. Well, when I was just completing my education after 12th, I was always dreaming to do something in the creative side. And my inspiration came from one of the transaction that my mother was doing with one of the jeweler. So she went to a jeweler, I was accompanying her, and I loved this kind of discussion they were having. She was buying a piece of a jewelry, jeweler was showing multiple trays, different designs with diamond, with color stone, and I was mesmerized by how beautiful and creative and luxurious this industry is, and that was my main motivation. And of course, after that I met some of the career counselors.
How
back
old were
then.
you then?
I was just 12th pass, like 18 years old. Figuring out what to do in life.
Yeah, that moment that happens, right?
Yeah, because I didn't wanted to follow the traditional culture of, okay, you do graduation, you do post. Of course, that is necessary to have a graduate stamp in your CV. But then I was more looking for something which is creative, which is more vocational, and which will give you job instantly. So when I finished, well, I come from a business background, but then my father never wanted me to go out and work. So that's how it all started. And then I went to National Institute of Fashion Technology, New Delhi.
Oh, NIFT in Delhi.
NIFT in Delhi, and then I visited. I went to IGJ, that's Indian Institute of Gems and Jewelry, semi-government body by GJPC, and I did my jewelry designing, jewelry manufacturing, diamond grading, from GIA, and I was lucky. I would say, of course, you work hard when you enter in any industry, but I think I was more lucky in a way that when I was doing my designing, I was participating in competitions, and our teachers used to encourage us to participate. They didn't tell us, okay, if you finish your course, finish two years diploma or whatever course you're doing, and then apply. No, they said you start applying in the competition right away in the middle of your education process.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough to break through in the very first competition that I participated. That was All India Jewelry Design Competition, and that was, I mean, still today it's unbelievable for me. I was on the second position over there.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
thank you, and I was just 6 months old in jewelry industry. Didn't know much about the industry, but yes, I was having flair for design, and I was working very, very hard to learn what's happening in the jewelry industry.
So it was meant to be.
It was meant to be, and then it was like a back-to-back journey of some awards every year, and that was adding a confidence in me. if this wouldn't have been a situation, if I wouldn't have won any award in the beginning of my career, then it would have been a little setback. No, but it happened in the most confident way.
Great. Now, I want to bring the audience's attention to the pieces she's wearing. My goodness, I mean, there is a story because prior, while we were setting up, we were having a small conversation about the jewelry that she's wearing and that she has designed herself. Well, take us through it. Take us through the pieces you're wearing.
Yes, sure. So I'm wearing a Russian emerald brooch, and it's embellished with pink sapphires, diamond.
It's absolutely stunning.
Thank you so much. And it's very it's very difficult to get a piece of this big size in
Right.
terms of natural emerald.
Right.
And then I'm wearing this Circle of Life charm bracelet, which has a beautiful clutch in the middle, where I call it a Circle of Life charm bracelet because there is a meaning behind this piece. And the meaning is you should have a big money, you should have a big purse, so you can spend easily and you
Yeah.
can save. You should be able to buy your own house, you should be able to buy your own car, and after all of this, you should be having a big heart.
Oh.
And to be able to capture all of them, you should be able to have a camera. So that's, I call it Circle
This
of
is
Life.
this is like an ideal woman's
Dream.
Dream, yeah,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
entire package for a woman.
True. And it has like a beautiful message, because my mom is my inspiration for everything that I do in my life. So I have I love you mom engraved on the other side of the heart, which is a secret message which just keeps touching on my skin all the time.
I mean, the amount of thought that you've put into it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring our conversation towards something that's very important. Let's talk about diamonds. Diamonds, I mean, honestly, for a woman today, owning a diamond is truly a dream, right? At least for a lot of women through generations, it has been like, at some point in my career, I want to buy a solitaire for myself, or I want to own diamond earrings that I have purchased it, or I want my man to give me XYZ size of a diamond ring. I mean, honestly, when you look back in history, it's one of the greatest marketing stunts pulled by De Beers company around 1945, right, as we know. And think about it, they brought it up in a way that diamonds are forever. They created the 2-month salary, where you can make your 2 month salary last forever by giving or gifting your woman a diamond and proposing that with her. And that has sort of continued till today.
Of course.
I mean, insane, right? And this particular case study is taught across all marketing colleges as an example. So, pretty much all. So, tell me, do you think the diamond hoo-ha or the frenzy is still existing today, or is that changing with time?
I think diamonds are forever.
See, you're quoting them too.
And diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Again, this was a concept done by them with Marilyn Monroe for that film, right?
Of course. See, let's understand diamond and the core value of diamond. Diamonds are formed millions and billions of years in the earth mantle, okay, earth crust. So, how old is earth? Approximately 4 to 5 billion years, they say. That's there available on Google. The diamonds are almost 3 to 4 million to billion years old. Okay, and that's just the purest form of carbon that we know. Now, this purest form of carbon has transformed into diamond due to extreme heat and pressure inside the earth. Now, what it carries? It carries history of this evolution of whole universe. It carries a beautiful story, and it carries the bling that we wear on our finger. So definitely, I truly believe the concept that diamonds are forever and this frenzy will continue.
Okay, but now when you say that, diamonds are created in the earth's crust and mantle, and, which is great, but at the same time, we have people who advocate, you know what I'm going to ask you next. We have people who advocate lab-grown diamonds. So on one side, you talk about diamonds are forever. See, I'm a true believer of diamonds being, okay, see, I have a contrasting opinion, or I somewhere believe both. Okay, we'll talk about my view later. But what I feel is, what people are talking about is there is a huge environmental perspective that brings out when you mine diamonds. It's not as safe. it's not as great. And the lab diamonds and natural diamonds, there is no difference at all. What do you have to say about lab diamonds? Is that going to be the future? Or do you really think there's going to be a market for natural diamonds forever? Or how do you see lab diamonds? Let's start there.
See, to be honest, lab diamond is something whose counterparts were existing before also. Meaning, there are mosonites, there are cubic zirconias, they were existing before also. Okay. Now, lab diamond is something which is made from the chip of a diamond. Okay, and it is the name of CVD's carbon vapor deposition. This is the process through which it is made. Now, something which is made in billions of years, in millions of years, and something which is made by a seed of a natural diamond and processed in a couple of weeks, will that be carrying that history? Okay, another thing. This is made, natural diamond is made by Mother Nature. CVD or CVD diamonds are made by human in machine. Which one has more weightage? The Mother Earth or something which
is... But the price point.
Of course. So, see, I tell you the concept behind both of them. Both, to me, are very, very interesting. Reason being, if I have to buy a diamond, I will always go for the natural diamond. If I have to gift a diamond, I will gift a natural diamond in my family, because I know down the line, it could be that they will transfer this to other generations which will be coming forward, right? So I will be doing a meaningful investment in jewelry. On the other side, when we talk about lab diamond, it's good. It's good for those who can't afford natural diamond. I mean, I have an employee in my office and she's getting married, and possibility she cannot own a big 1 or 2 carat solitaire. She can go and get herself a lab grown diamond. So it's good. So I think there is a customer for everybody. But then people who have good paying capacity will always go for natural diamond, because this is something, diamond is something, or rather jewelry is an investment. And we always invest the money keeping the value of investment in mind, the ROI in mind. So I will be buying something which has some meaning and which has some intrinsic value in it.
You know,
and I find that for both the segments, the market is there. I mean, of course, lab grown diamond, they have their own industry and they have their own generation who is going to buy it. But natural has its own charm. And a lot of the bigger brands are, if you see the Tiffany, Bulgari, they didn't even...
They've recently started, in fact, from 2023, I think they have. I've done a bit of research around this topic because I find this topic very fascinating.
But it's very, very new. Even they're experimenting. Even nobody's saying out loud in terms of the bigger brands. No. Everybody's just whispering this and this here and there, like that.
Okay, you know, you just spoke something about the price point, right? And honestly, if you look at in the last, say, from 1970s onwards, the price of a diamond has not really appreciated or increased as much. Now, instead, when you look at gold from the same time, it is a lot of difference, right? So, is diamond really a great investment when you talk about it that way?
See, there are different classification of investment. In terms of gold, of course, has appreciated a lot. And gold is, when gold was introduced, it was a commodity to invest. Later on, we started, making articles from it. So gold will always be a safer investment in comparison of diamonds. Yes, diamond appreciation is slow. It's not like the percentage of gold has increased. No, it's not like that. But then the appreciation is there. So appreciation is there, but now if we talk about colored gemstones, so yes, appreciation is there, because now even the mines are getting little exhausted. Earlier, the diamonds, recently we have the Argyle mine from where the pink diamonds are coming. So even that is getting depleted and exhausted now. So we have the natural diamond is getting lesser and lesser in terms of the availability, we can say. So in future, there will be, what we see, that there will be just, a bunch of natural diamonds out in the market. Not right now, but yes, in future. And in terms of sustainability, what we see, the new age mining is happening. When they dig a pit for mining activity to extract a diamond, they are also doing so much of CSR with that. they have a responsibility to fill up that dig, do the plantation of trees over there, and at the same time educate the community and provide the community the basic facilities who is living near around, and provide them with the job facilities. So there is mining that is happening for natural diamonds, yes, of course, but there is also a lot of CSR that government has put on these companies, so everything can be done ethically, and CSR is there in its place.
Let's hope they do that, though.
They,
Let's
they
hope
do,
did.
they do,
Okay.
because the in the mining industry the laws are strict,
Right.
very strict.
So, as a consumer, okay, I
Hmm.
want to go to the store and purchase the diamond, be it lab or be it a natural diamond. What are some of the factors that I need to look out for?
So you need to first understand what price you want to spend,
Right.
right? So because the difference is like 1/10, right?
Yeah.
So you need to first
Okay, let's say we want to buy a natural diamond.
Hmm.
I want to go to a store. As a consumer, I'm an absolute novice. I've saved some money because it's my dream to buy, say, a solitaire ring or maybe for a diamond cuff or something, a diamond piece in whatever.
Let's say you want to
category.
buy a solitaire,
Okay.
right?
So now I want to go to the store. What are the points that I should look at? What are the sort of classifications that are there? Because it is so confusing as a first time purchaser. When you go, there is, okay, I don't even know what those names are. So it is very confusing. So tell us, what are the points that we should look at? There is cut, color, clarity, and all of that. So tell us, as a first time consumer, what do we need to do?
See, when you're going to buy diamonds, you have four characteristics that you need to look at: cut, color, carat weight, and clarity. And all these parameters are defined by GIA. And the definition is that you should be able to look at the diamond, like all these classifications of cut, color, clarity, carat weight are defined by 10x magnifying glass. So with that 10x jeweler's eye loop, you should be able to see the diamond, and you should be able to tell whether this is VS, this is SI, this is G color, this is H color.
What
like
are all
that.
of these things?
Yeah, so I'll break it down again. So these are the cut, is the basic cutting style of the diamond. Then we have the carat weight, that's the weight of the stone by itself, which is in carat. In jewelry we are always doing in grams, but in color stone we are doing in carat. Then we have color. So color start with D color. DEF is the topmost range. Then we have G, H, I, J, and so forth. So
So the highest classification is DEF.
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 And
okay.
in that also D color diamond.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is the highest color.
Okay.
Okay, and when we talk about the clarity, we start from flawless to internally flawless to VVS1, VS1, 2, and then SIs and Is. So these are all inclusions. When we say
when you say internally flawless,
Yeah.
which is the diamond that you can think of to give us as an example to set as a benchmark in our mind? Like, is there a piece that is internally flawless?
yeah, why not?
For
But there are fewer pieces, but they're there.
But is there an iconic piece that?
Not really. I mean, as of now, I cannot remember that there is an
Okay.
because these things are not too much out also
Okay.
in the market, but commercially they are there. They are available to buy. But then again, the definition is if you see that 10 times zoomed in the eye loop. That's the definition, because the flawless or internally flawless, if I'm going to look through the microscope in 200 times of magnification, I will see a lot of things inside. So that is a definition, that is a selling technique to make you understand that you are buying a flawless diamond through a 10x magnification eyeglass. That's a jeweler's, that most of the time you must have seen a jeweler
Yes.
is looking. So that is that eyeglass, 10 times magnification. A lot of the time jewelers are also using 20x, 20 times zoom, 30x eye loop also. But no, the recommendation and the definition by GIA is strictly by 10x micro.
Okay, so we have all of these grades that we need to look at, and then
The most important, Shanu,
if I for my solitaire.
yeah, for your solitaire, I'll make you a perfect shopper
No,
after
I
this.
know that. But for the audience,
Yeah.
if they want to go to the store.
Yeah, if you have to go to the store, the first thing that you see in a diamond is shine.
Okay.
So it should be a good cut. Then the color. Because what are you looking at the naked eye on this? You're looking at the color. The shine. Your diamond should be shining when you're moving it. Then comes the color. Then comes the clarity, because in clarity, if I have too many black spots here and there, and if I'm wearing a SI or lower grade of SI diamond, you will be able to make out through naked eye also, and that will hamper the shine of diamond in general. And last, the carat weight, and carat weight depends on your pocket, how much you want to spend.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for example, somebody wants to propose to their girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the basic or the best carat weight, at least the bare minimum that should
Proposing
be
to a girlfriend or
Yeah.
giving it to a wife?
I like that. Okay, give me both.
Proposing to a girlfriend, go for CVD.
At what carat weight?
But if giving to a wife, give at least, I mean, let's talk about giving in engagement ring, right? So it could be 1 carat, 1 carat plus 2 carats,
Right.
depend. And in that also, Shanu, this diamond industry is so fascinating. So many things that I can keep talking to you. It's not just the shape, not the weight of the diamond, it's also the shape of the diamond. Right now, customers are going more frenzy about the outer shape with
Yeah,
all the
the
stars,
heart shape and all
Bollywood
is so
stars like
cute.
Deepika Padukone and others are trying other fancy shapes. Like you have oval shape, we have heart shape. So even shape make them look very interesting.
So if I'm on a budget, for example, if I want to pick up, which is one thing that I can sort of compromise on? Cut, color, clarity, or carat? Which is something that I can compromise on? If I'm on a
Don't
budget.
compromise on anything, but you can compromise on the carat weight.
Okay.
I mean, you can go for a lesser carat weight, okay, but don't compromise on color, don't compromise on clarity, and don't compromise on the cut.
Okay.
That is the symmetry and polish of the diamond.
Is there
And go for the certificate stone.
Exactly. This is what I wanted to ask you next, because is there a red flag in the certification that people sort of need to watch out for?
There are, see, scams are part of every business. In every sector, scams are there, right? So we as customer should be very well alerted when we are going to buy the diamond. So Shanu, when you're buying, first of all, if you're buying a diamond, buy a diamond with a GIS certified stone. Don't go for stones which are uncertified. That's the first red flag. Don't go for uncertified stones. See, in B2B trade, when we are trading with the merchant, we go for sometimes uncertified because we know as jeweler, as laboratory, we know what is the basic parameters of grading the diamond. But as a customer, go with a certification, and preferably go, if you're buying diamond, go for GIS certified diamond. Okay. Second thing, your GIS certificate also carries a report number, right? That report is engraved in the girdle of the diamond. So whatever digits are mentioned over there, the same digits are mentioned in the diamond also,
So you need
in the
to
girdle. So we can verify whether this is the same stone or not, because since we have laboratory in Sharjah and every day we get so many gemstones, be it diamond, be it rocks, be it different kind of minerals coming in our laboratory. So one time this case happened with us that customer, a husband and wife, they came to our lab and they said, okay, this is our piece, we just want to verify whether this is the original certificate of this stone or not. Well, the certificate was saying something else and stone was something else. There was a number, report number in the certificate. When we saw it in the diamond, when I was looking through the eye loop, and reading this certificate number on the stone is not very easy. It is something that requires a certain angle, because you are literally reading through the girdle. So it requires a certain angle and an eye loop and a proper light source. Then only you can match with the report number.
Right.
So when we told to that husband and wife that this is not what is there in the report numbers are not matching, and they were like, what? Because both the characteristics were different. The diamond that they were holding was different color clarity. It was very much low grade, and what was mentioned in the certificate was different. So they got tricked by somebody. So many a times when you get too sweet deals, don't
Be
go
careful
for
of
that.
that.
Be careful of that.
Okay, so of course you are into jewelry designing, and that's been your core forever. What are the designs that are actually trending right now, or what is the current fad?
Whatever Tiffany Bulgari, Cartier are doing.
Seriously?
Yeah, because
Okay.
what I see, when even you do the case study of these brands, you will see people are not going for the complicated stuff at all. Even in weddings also, they prefer to wear neat, clean, elegant and versatile designs. So this is what the forte is. Even if we look at the Arabic jewelry, or in Arabic, I love what they're doing in calligraphy, enamels. They're very much welcome with the colored gemstones also. Um, what I see is the neat, clean and bold outlines. If you see Cartier Love bracelet, or if you see the Tiffany lock bracelet, it's so interesting. Why? Because it's so elegant and so neat, fine-tuned lines are there. I mean, if I'm wearing it, I will feel nice. If I will pass it on to somebody else in my family, they will also love it because it's so elegant and timeless. So gone are the days when complicated stuff was very much appreciated. Now people are preferring simple tones. But at the same time, interesting and high finish is something which is always appreciated.
Right. So do you think any of these designs, be it the Serpentine or any of that, is outdated?
No, it's
No,
timeless.
it's timeless.
It's
Okay.
timeless. It's
Okay.
timeless.
Fair.
But what I was mentioning was something that you can wear on daily basis and be very, very proud of.
Okay. All right. So, which are the best cities that if you really want to go and purchase diamonds from, because you worked across and you've learned also across multiple countries, like be it India or Switzerland and different places like that in your career. Which country or which city, be it Jaipur, you just came back from Jaipur, straight from the airport, as she says. So, yeah. So, which is a city that we can really go and get good quality gems?
Well, you're sitting in Dubai. That's the best city. That's the global hub right now for gemstones, jewelry, and diamonds. See, in diamonds, we cannot say that this is the best city and we should go out and source, because mines are located at various parts. It's in South Africa. It's in Africa. It's in Russia. But mostly the processing is happening in India. So do you know? Almost 90% diamonds, rough diamonds, are cut and polished in Surat.
It's the diamond capital of the world.
It's a diamond capital
Yes.
of the world, and that's where the maximum diamond are cut and polished, and trading is mostly done in Mumbai.
Right.
Okay, but in diamonds, we have a standardized price list called Rappaport. Rappaport lays down, like we have gold pricing, right? This is Rappaport is a company by Mr. Martin Rappaport, and they lay down the foundation prices for every month. So there is a wrap list for this month as well, and on that there is a certain percentage of discount that every merchant is offering to the client. I might offer less discount, another person might offer on the same piece, might offer more discount, and then he can crack the deal. But diamond pricing is such that it all depends on the Rappaport pricing. There is a complete portal where you can log in and you can just look at the list of the stones which are available worldwide. Sitting over here, I can order a diamond in Hong Kong easily, and they can courier that to me if I like that deal. If I like, because all genuine companies are there on this portal, and if I like it, they can just ship it to me.
Wow.
And because this is so standardized pricing that you can buy the same thing from Mumbai, you can buy the same deal in Dubai also. So when I need to give my clients a diamond, I'm not going to Mumbai, I'm buying it from Dubai only. Because I know there is a standard price list going around the world. Who is giving me the better discount gets the deal.
Okay. Obviously every woman would probably want, or everybody would have a dream of wanting a solitaire, but many people try and create a lot of cluster of smaller diamonds. I've read, just correct me if I'm wrong, I've read this somewhere that a solitaire is something that you mine, and once you work with that in creating different products, and the remaining parts of it are the smaller diamonds that remain. So today, when people are really low of budgets, the smaller diamonds are basically the diamonds that fall out of the solitaire, or the ones that you are left behind after creating the design. Is that really true?
Such a beautiful question. Such a beautiful question. So diamond is like a rough. Okay. Every diamond cutter is doing a planning to get the maximum yield from that particular rough stone. So they try to first take, if it is a bigger rough, they try to first take out a big piece out of it, because they can sell and they can earn very good on a single piece. But the remains, the small pieces, they make it like a 1 millimeter diamond also. They cut and polish, and we have the machines for which even a 1 millimeter is how much? It's a dot.
Barely, yeah.
It's a dot. Dot size diamond will also have 58 facets.
Yeah, so that's the standard that you again.
That's the standard that we have. So this is the whole thing.
That's quite okay. Cool. So now we are coming to a part that I like. It's the rapid fire.
I'm
Okay.
ready for it.
No, you've been great so far. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you just breezed through it. All right.
Yeah, and one more thing I would like to add on the cutting part of diamond. Once we have a big rock, we cut the solitaire. Let's say we take out the solitaire from that. In the small, we have the small diamonds. It could be 1 millimeter, it could be 2 millimeter diamond. And then we have the slices, we have the chips, the single slices left out, which we call scrap. But we use even that scrap in Indian jewelry. If you have seen the polkis are the diamond chips.
Oh.
Right?
I really love that uncut diamond designs also.
That's beautiful. We have English cut polkis that I was designing for a brand, and that was selling like a hotcake. English cut polki, and even the dust of the diamond is also used in the
creams
industrial.
and- yeah.
No, it's not used in
a
jewelry.
lot of beauty products are actually made out of diamond
in the
dust.
industrial
Yes.
purpose, those things
Pearl
are
dust,
used.
diamond
Yeah.
dust, all of that are great for facials.
Yeah. So everything is used in diamond. Nothing they leave. It's something like 90% jewelry industry is using. If not, then the other industries are using them.
Okay, coming to my rapid fire. It's a very short game. Okay.
I'm ready.
So,
for it.
all right. So now, you gotta say gem or scam. I'm gonna
Gem
ask you.
or scam.
I'm gonna give out a sentence, and you have to mention whether it's whether it's gem if you agree, or if it's scam, or scam if you don't.
Okay.
Okay. You must always buy a diamond with certification.
Gem.
Bigger diamond is equal to better. Gem or scam.
Gem depends on the budget and on the certificate.
Moissanite is the new diamond. Gem or scam.
Scam. Sue this person.
Real gold doesn't tarnish. Gem or scam.
Gem.
Lab grown will lose value over time. Gem or scam. Okay. Colored stones don't hold resale value. Gem or scam.
Scam. Color stone, they do have value. And
Diamond-
some of them they keep on appreciating, because I mean the same in diamonds, if you give a demand for, let's say, GHVS, and for 5 carat or 4 carat stone, you will get so many pieces. But let's say if I want 10 pieces of that same diamond, GHVS, and SI or VS clarity, you will get 10 diamonds of that same color and cut and clarity, everything. But in gemstones, no. Gemstones are more rarer than diamonds.
Okay.
So they will appreciate.
All right. So diamond resale value is a myth.
No, it's a scam.
Okay. More carats, better investment. Gem or scam.
Scam, because it all depends on the clarity and color that you have.